Morning, everybody. What a morning we're going to have, talking about risk management, right? Okay, let me give you a little background. My name's Mark, as Cole said. I work for James R. Favor & Company, which is a fraternity's insurance broker. We have fraternity clients. I spend my days, my nights, working with individuals such as you, individuals such as Sean Wagner, Bob Biggs, staffs for a lot of different major fraternities. We have clients like SAE, Pike, Lambda Chi, Sigma Chi, Teak, Triangle, Sigma Alpha Mu, and others. But you have to remember, you are a Phi Delta CEO, right? It's your job to be the president. It's your job to lead your chapter. You have the privilege and honor of working with the university officials and the headquarters staff to set the direction of your chapter. Okay? So you have to ask yourself, what do you want your legacy to be? When we talk about Phi Delta CEOs, there's a lot of them. There's John Tyson from Tyson Chicken, there's Mark Hurd from HP, there's Ralph Wilson from the Bills, and then these two guys that you're probably more familiar with, Drew from Dropbox and Jeff from LinkedIn. Drew's quote's great. Learn early, learn often. We are learning every day. I'm learning every day. Bob Biggs is still learning every day. It's how we apply that learning that matters. And Jeff talks about maintaining a culture of transformation and stay true to your values. You heard the expression, if we're not changing, we're dying. And that's what Jeff's kind of saying there. If we're not transforming, if we're not trying to do things better than what our predecessors did, then we're headed in the wrong direction. That CEO level responsibilities, right? Risk management policies are dealing with alcohol-free housing, no hazing, following the law, not drinking underage, not using chapter funds to buy alcohol. They're pretty straightforward. But we have policies because unfortunately something bad has happened in the past, and we want to avoid that same bad thing from happening again, right? We learn from our mistakes. We learn, we implement policies, we implement education, and we try to move on. We try to create some best practices to keep our brothers safe, all your guests that come to your house or to your social events safe. We want to keep our facilities protected. Right? Those are all assets. Because it's simple. When we know better, we do better. If you don't know what the rules of the game are, then we can't abide by the rules. And if we're going to be held accountable to the rules, then we got to know the rules. Your job as CEOs to make sure your brothers understand and know those rules, and then to hold everybody accountable. When we talk about risk management, nobody likes to talk about risk management. We want to reframe that conversation from risk management, okay? Because that's corporate, that's business-like, and it's served the fraternity world fairly well over the years, but we're now kind of shifting that to health and safety. Because if you talk with your brothers about their health and about keeping them safe and ensuring that the long term of the existence of your chapter is kept safe, it's a lot easier to have that conversation. It changes that this isn't just a rule, that you're really caring about their well-being. That long-term health of your chapter and the safety of your brothers, right? You want to gain their buy-in. You want to create a culture of understanding and compliance. If you can start to get their buy-in to understand why we have these policies and procedures, then it becomes less difficult for you to enforce them because you've got now a group of individuals that understand why we have these things. So it's easier to enforce the standards and the expectations that the fraternity set out for you. And these aren't just fraternity policies, right? They're all policies that you have to abide by on your campus, your Greek life office, and the law. We're under attack, brothers. The media doesn't like us. University administrations don't like us. Schools are taking it in their own hands. They're not waiting for us to do anything anymore. They're suspending Greek life. Doesn't matter if it was our problem or SAE's problem or SIGEP's problem. They're taking it out on you and holding you accountable for your peers' actions. Everybody is concerned about alcohol. Everybody's concerned about, we say one thing, we say we're about friendship, sound learning, and rectitude, but on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday night, what are our actions? And are our actions emulating those values? And people are holding us accountable. Thanks to cell phones, social media, everything gets out there now. So why do those bad things happen? We've got claims, insurance claims, and incidents are often the result of a culture of indifference. Basically, we've got chapters out there that are up a creek without a paddle. They don't have any goals. They don't have any objectives. And when they don't, what do the brothers do? If you don't have a plan, then they have fun. They're going to party. If you don't keep them busy, then they're going to do things that college students do. They're going to drink. They're going to do whatever they want. If you don't keep them busy, and again, I go back to thanks to the Ed Committee and the General Counsel for doing the Strategic Planning Initiative, because if we do that right, we're going to be busy. Doesn't mean we can't have fun, but when we have fun, we're going to make sure it's well planned and well executed. We can't look the other way. If you look the other way, then people are going to just say, the president doesn't care. He's not going to hold me accountable. And that passive acceptance could mean that your chair next year is empty at this time. A lot of times, though, it falls to us and we may not be able to have the answers. We may not know what the solution is. So who can we reach out to for help? And who have you used for help in the past? You can't be afraid to ask for help, because I can tell you, any of the volunteers that are here this weekend that are leading your chapters would be glad to receive a phone call and to help you out in any situation. As CEO, it's your responsibility to ensure, we talked about this already, that each brother understands their role in addressing a situation before it becomes an incident. We've got to understand that if you've got a brother or a FICAIA in trouble, you don't play doctor, you call 911 immediately. It is much easier to take a situation where your chapter may get in trouble versus the possibility that your chapter could be closed and your next fraternity event is going to a funeral. But you've got to recognize those early warning signs, and how do we intervene before the feces hits the oscillator? How do we be an active bystander? How do we know that we've got to step up and do the right thing? The amnesty program used to be just for the FICAIA program. If you had challenges with hazing, that amnesty program now is extended to any risk management policy that if you've got problems in your chapter and you call headquarters and you ask for amnesty, they will walk you through what that program means and you can help your chapter improve. James R. Favor & Company has 3 clients, including Phi Delta Theta, that are not part of the NIC. Lambda Chi is not part of the NIC, nor is Tau Kappa Epsilon. So we have 3 clients that are not part of the NIC. Unfortunately, your chapters are part of the local IFCs. Those local IFCs are, in some cases, partnering with the NIC, so therefore you're going to be held accountable to these new NIC policies and procedures. But when we talk about insurance, James R. Favor & Company has been partnered with Phi Delta Theta for the last 30 plus years. We use Lloyd's of London as the underwriter for insurance. The key points that you need to understand when we talk about all these bad things that have happened, all these headlines, all these stories, Max, etc., there is no insurance coverage for you as an individual if you break the law or if you violate fraternity policies. I cannot write an insurance policy that's going to give you the capability of breaking the law and then getting coverage. It just doesn't exist. Your personal insurance or your parents' homeowner's insurance is always first. Always. Because the goal of the insurance program is to protect the volunteers and the national fraternities entities, the fraternity, the foundation, the Palmer Fund, the Mitchell Fund, etc. There's no coverage for the bad actors. So the question then becomes, well, hey, I'm chapter president, I wasn't there, do I get any insurance coverage? It depends. We may agree to defend you initially until it comes out in the discovery phase that maybe you did have some knowledge or some involvement. And I can tell you, and we'll talk about this again, but social media, nothing's private. So chapters and members must, in order to have coverage, be in compliance with the law. You have to abide by the policies, and you have to be acting on behalf of Phi Delta Theta or the chapter. That means if you're on IFC and something happens in your position with IFC, the fraternity's insurance doesn't cover you for your things that are not Phi Delta Theta related. There are exclusions, just as you would expect. Intentional acts like assaults, providing alcohol to minors, hazing, other criminal acts, or any sexual abuse or misconduct. Those are all excluded. If you do something bad, like the incident at LSU, the insurance still covers Phi Delta Theta headquarters. still covers those volunteers. They have primary coverage. We need to do that in order to ensure the continued existence of the fraternity. Alcohol-free housing, just updated these stats for this year. It's worked, okay? It's not perfect, but it's worked. We went from 12 claims a year on average from 91 to 2000 prior to alcohol-free down to 4.7 claims since 2000. We were spending about $413,000 a year in insurance claims. Now on average it's down to $28,000. That's a 93% reduction in severity, a 62% reduction in the number of claims. It's working, but it's up to you to make sure it continues to work. Penn State. We talked about Penn State and Beta Theta Pi. Let's talk about Penn State and Phi Delta Theta. Several years ago, this was the Phi Delta house at Penn State. Unfortunately, they didn't like the alcohol-free policy. The general counsel closed the chapter. The university knocked it down, now owns the land. It's now a park, and the only thing that's left of Phi Delta Theta is a monument. That could happen to you. Nobody wants that to happen to you. You have to ask for help. Fraternity insurance rates. We are enjoying one of the lowest per man rates in the fraternity world right now. You are paying the lowest rate out of any major fraternity. I think the only one that's lower than you is a very small fraternity, okay? That could change because of Max. We don't know, we can't speculate, but I would imagine that your rates are going to go up next year because of those cases. How do we reduce that risk management assessment? This is where you jot down some notes for your social chair and your risk management chair. You have to participate in event planning. You can apply for and win awards. That's a way to reduce that per man cost because not every chapter is paying that $80. Some chapters are paying $150, some are paying less than $80. Okay? Maintain accurate reporting with headquarters. And then there's also debits that you can have. Risk management violations, if you've got past claims history, if your facility is in sad shape, there's some life safety debits. And if you don't participate in event planning or don't report to headquarters, then you can get additional funds added, additional percentages. Annex and party house liability. Everybody always asks, well, if we have parties at the senior house, or if we have parties outside, off campus, not in our house, but somewhere else where we've got a bunch of brothers living, does that mean that it's a Phi Delta event? For those seniors that are living out, they also have to worry about social host liability. There's 3 key objectives that the law says you have to do. You have to provide a safe atmosphere for your guests, you have to follow local and state laws, and you have to provide guests with safe transportation home. If they don't do that, they could be held negligible. They could be held liable for damages. So it's not easy, and a lot of your brothers will ignore this because they're renting some apartment and they're hosting events, and that's where you're having your fun, but they could be held personally accountable. GHQ will help with event planning. That's Melanie Clayton up in the corner. She's usually here at PLC. She's not here this year, but she will help you with the event planning program. She'll give you some consultation on how to keep your events safe and to make sure that they adhere to the risk management policies. She'll help you with the risk transfer methodology. We want to transfer risks to others for our social events. If we can transfer our risk to a third-party vendor or to a transportation company or to a security company, then we can lower our insurance costs and we can lower the amount of liability that we would have should something go wrong at that event. I'll give you a great example. The chapter that I work with as a volunteer, Colorado Gamma, had an incident many moons ago now, but they had an incident or a party off campus. They used transportation from the chapter house to the bar, had the event, transportation company brought them back to the house. They had a brother from, I believe it was the University of Iowa, who was visiting a buddy. He was drunk. He got into his car, started to drive away, and the girl that he had been talking with tried to open the car door to stop him from driving because she was concerned. He ended up running her over. Unfortunately, her daddy was the district attorney. Okay? Phi Delta Theta had a lot of their liability reduced. Why? Because they had that event off campus. They used the third-party vendor. And that third-party vendor's insurance came into play because that person that drank was underage. So that limited and reduced the liability that the fraternity had. Risk management, social chairman and risk management chairman work together and submit those events 30 days in advance. 30 days seems like a long time, but part of the strategic plan that we're working on, you can incorporate that. So you have a calendar of events. The better organized you are, the more planning that you do, the less likely that we're going to have any problems. Life safety is extremely important. When we talk about alcohol, we talk about hazing, all of that is up to you as an individual. But one of the things that we can control better is our housing stock. We can implement policies and procedures and equipment into your facilities to make sure that we don't lose the life of a brother. So what can you do to help control those property losses for you guys that live in facilities? You have weekly work sessions, okay, where your members and your FICAIs work together to clean their home. This is not a place for you to live, this is your home. If you have problems, then let your house corporation know immediately. If you're not getting reaction from your house corporation, then call Andrew Laporte at the headquarters and say, Andrew, we've got an issue. We need to get this fixed. I'm concerned. And Andrew then will intervene on your behalf. If you have events at the house, not necessarily with alcohol, hopefully you're not, but you want to have prompt and proper cleanup, okay? You want to post evacuation plans. It sounds silly. You want to conduct fire drills. Okay, that was the problem when we lost the life of Casey at Ohio Beta. All the brothers scattered when the fire started. The fire department showed up, and nobody had taken a head count. Nobody had done any understanding of who could have been left in the house. And by the time the fire department found Casey, it was too late. Sprinkler systems are great if they're properly insulated and you have somebody checking on the facility during these cold snaps. You want to start early with the FICAIA program, okay? Make sure you're FICAIA because they are the riskiest part of your chapter because they're away from mom and dad for the first time. They want to have fun. They want to experiment. They're ready and willing to do anything because they don't have anybody watching over them. If you don't get a handle on what the expectations are for your FICAIA, you're missing the boat. Implement a J-board and a PALS committee. Reach out to your alumni, get them engaged with your chapter. If you're looking for backup, and I do this all the time at Colorado Gamma, Isaac can understand and appreciate this, I will come up and just attend a chapter meeting if they're dealing with a tough issue. Because when you've got your alumni there, those snipers in the room, those brothers that are the bad apples, don't always speak up, or if you do, or if they do, then you have the alumni there to help back you up. Weekly bylaw review. If you have problems in your chapter with things, get your secretary, give him a job, have him review a weekly bylaw, and ask your leadership consultants for help. They spend, and the headquarters spends, a lot of time and a lot of money to get them to your chapter facility. So don't shine them on and tell them everything's great. Talk to them about what your problems are, and they are ready and willing to help. Where can you get help? Step 1, call 911. Don't play doctor. If you have concerns, get the professionals there. Step 2, call the Fight Out Theta Crisis Hotline. Dylan is ready and willing to help you, okay? He's the chapter services coordinator. He's a great guy. And then step 3, call your advisory board and your house corporation. Rally the troops. You are not alone, but you're going to be alone unless you ask for help. If we're doing our job as Fidelts, then we are setting up our future brothers for greater success than what we enjoy. That's what it comes down to. As we look into the future, you're the stepping stone, right? You have to carry that torch to aid your brothers so they know better, so they can do better next time. And if we're not talking about our failures, like Yoda mentioned to Luke, then we're doing our future brothers a disservice. Stand up with me. Let's recite this together because I think it makes sense that we're lead right into this. We talk about our failures and trying to do things better and passing on better knowledge. I will strive in all ways to transmit the fraternity to those who may follow after, not only not less, but greater than was transmitted to me. Brothers, thank you very much for your time.